Hey, 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 you're back with BA, and this is more tunnel study. If you haven't seen the first part of this, I advise you to. What this is I've been going through tunnel kind of randomly. I've just been scrolling and stopping at a certain page or whatever. And I'm doing that to kind of give you a deeper understanding of how to read and decode this book. Because I think a lot of people out there have a wrong concept of Gann. They think it's, they're gonna study the square of 9 and get it working and go make millions or whatever. And that's really not how it works. I've been studying tunnel for about 3 months shy of 20 years. So I've got some experience in there. And I imagine there's some people out there that are better than I am. But I'm making the video to help you. Okay. And with that, what we're going to do is I did the part 1, which was tunnel study with BA. I did the part 1 and we went over like a half hour. So I stopped it and kind of breaking it up. This is going to continue this. Okay. So let's get started on it right where we left off. Okay. We left off with the 155th anniversary. Okay. Colonel Gordon reported the scouting planes had discovered this could mean one thing. The enemy is concentrating at Cairo, and the next attacks would be on St. Louis and probably Louisville, Cincinnati, and Chicago. At a conference of the War Council, he said that there was no use risking the lives of women and children in these cities, that arrangements should be made to move them to places of safety at once. What he's doing is he's connecting. He's saying there's a connection between Cairo, St. Louis, Louisville, Cincinnati, and Chicago. Okay? Now, what's ironic about this and what's important about this is Cairo is a small city. Okay. Why did he choose that? St. Louis and Chicago were relatively large cities, and so is Cincinnati. Louisville's not. Okay, especially back in Gann's day. So Cairo and Louisville are small, but he includes them here because he has to show you something. Okay. Think about that for a while. Okay. Which is why it's these cities that people were moved from, okay? Meaning there's a connection. In the early part of August 1931, the attack upon St. Louis started, okay? So he doesn't give us a date here. How do we figure out the date? Well, we just go to the chart, and probably, because it's an attack by the enemy, probably going to be a high. Look for a large turn in August of 1931. Okay, and that will give you the date. And sometimes you can pin it down. Like, say, if we went down here, because we're going to go back up and read that. That's a very important part. Battle waged for 14 days. Hey, didn't we have that number appear in our first? Yeah, we did. We had that number appear in the part 1 of this in the other video. 14. You see that? So he's doing something. Trying to key in on it. September 1931. So all this is August of 31. So we're going to have to use the Dow to actually go in there. Okay. But anyway, it says the attack upon St. Louis started. The United States had concentrated every available force there. Canada had sent airplanes to northern border, enabled the United States to withdraw more forces to protect central part of the country. The battle raged on and off day and night. There were attacks and counterattacks. The United States factories were turning out airplanes at the rate of more than 1,000 a day. Okay, and that is that can be construed as important because that number keeps popping up here. Okay, they succeeded in successfully. Okay. A new long-range gun had been completed, which would reach the enemy's planes at greater heights. Okay, that means that's talking about a wheel. Okay, and what it is on when he's talking about guns and tunnels, he's talking about price activity. Okay. Battle counterattack. United States were turning out airplanes at more than 1,000 per day. Okay. Enemy's planes at greater heights and proved to be of great value in Battle of St. Louis. On the third day of the battle, General Pearson ordered Colonel Gordon and Colonel Kenilworth to lead the men against the southern eastern, thus successfully bringing down 500 of the enemy planes. The United States encounter lost about 200 planes. This was encouraging, and General Pearson ordered more of the reserves thrown in the fight on the following day, and seen just when the enemy was waiting for. One mistake after another was made. Subordinate. Okay, well, he's given numbers in this, okay? He's given numbers. There's 30,000 planes here, okay? And there is the number 500 here, the number 200 here, the number 1 here. Okay, so he's doing something with these numbers, because he's got to say, look, on a chart, St. Louis is a specific point. It's a turn, okay, which is why I keep telling you to go to the Dow. And that specific point or that specific turn, okay, he can't just come out and say, well, look at this number here with a 400 price or whatever. He can't do that. So what he's got to do is he's got to give you these numbers, and you have to take that turn and draw an arrow and go 1,000, 500, 200, because all that happened. And of course our 30,000 down here, because all of that happened in the St. Louis attack, you see. So that's how you do it. You see that? I'm going to back up over that, because this is a critical concept for you to get, and I don't want you to miss it. Okay. They succeeded in bringing down over 500 planes, 200 planes. Where's that other? 1,000 per day. Okay. Well, wait a minute, because here he goes, and you got to think like this too. Here, I'll go back up here. Long range enemy, and they proved men against us. Bringing down the United States lost about 200. This was encouraging. Where's it at? Hold on. Okay, 1,000 per day. Where's that part where he says, I just read it, and of course this is live, so it's, oh yeah, here it is. On the 3rd day of the battle. Well, if you're doing 1,000 a day, okay, on your 3rd day you're going to have what? 3,000. Okay. Well, here again, here's 3,000. Okay. Now there's more there. I'm just kind of giving you a thumbnail sketch, you see. This is how you do it. After the battle had raged for 14 days, the U.S. lost thousands of planes. I bet they did. The cause seemed to be hopeless, and St. Louis was surrendered. Okay. Situation was getting worse, all that stuff. Okay. Let's go and just page 383. Okay, through the air, he believed that attack was on Washington. It would be the last and end the war. Because his country had ever stood for love and liberty, his capital was attacked. He wanted it to be saved by a bloodless victory. Okay, New York, another one in Cincinnati, and a 3rd machine. Okay, so here on page 383, look at this. With the tunnel machine in New York. Well, you have to find the New York turn, or this isn't going to make any sense to you. Another one in Cincinnati, and a 3rd machine in Washington. You have to find those turns to see what he is doing. Okay, he would be able from New York City to place a tunnel through the air in every direction around Washington to capture the invading army of planes. Colonel Edna Kenilworth said that she thought he was placing on her shoulders a great responsibility, but that if he had confidence in her, she would go and do her best. He told her that she could not fail and there was nothing to fear. Of course she couldn't. Okay, so the Colonel Edna Kenilworth went to Washington. She arrived there on July 2nd and did not long wait to before seeing action. The Battle of Washington. The enemy was losing confidence and decided to risk 50,000 airplanes, the best that they had, on a concerted attack upon Washington. They figured that if they could take the capital, it would be telling blow. Okay, here we go again. 50,000 planes. Now remember, for Chicago, 3,000 or 30,000 seemed to be the key. No, that was St. Louis. Why did I say Chicago? St. Louis. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was St. Louis. 30,000 seemed to be the key. All right. The enemy was losing confidence and decided to risk 50,000 planes. Well, that's a specific number, okay? So you would locate the Washington turn and you'd write 50,000 there. July 4th, Independence Day, was a time selected for the attack. The plan was to send one fleet up the Potomac. Okay, and then certain range, about 75 miles. Okay, she adjusted the gas machine. Okay, so at the Washington at the Washington turn. Okay, which is actually this turn is actually the low of the Dow of the Great Depression. It was July 9th, 1932, which is about 5 days from what he's saying here. She adjusted the gas machine toward the enemy approaching down the Potomac and at a certain range. So you would take that Washington turn and you would draw an arrow and you would write about 75 miles and then 50 miles. You see, that's a very important number. And decided to let go of the sleeping gas. She swept it quickly right and left, and in the glistening sunshine saw hundreds of planes going down. In 15 minutes, the entire fleet was safely asleep in the tunnel through the air. By the time a report came for another fleet, was making Baltimore direct line for Washington. Okay, powerful. Looked through her powerful glass and saw the enemy approaching. She started discharging the gas, and in 12 minutes, the entire fleet had been plunged into the tunnel. She had a few minutes. Now, here he's talking about, when you keep seeing this, he's trying to tell you minutes. Okay, minutes. Okay, there's one more other here. Minutes. Okay, here's 15. Here's 12. Well, what is that? What is 15 minutes? And you add 12 minutes. 15 and 12. Gee, that's 27. Why could the number 27 be important? Okay. Okay, she had a few minutes to, of course, the teletalk buzzed. You know it would. You knew it would. Okay. This was the first formation approached with about 1,000 planes. There's that number again. Okay. Okay. And fourth formation, so on. More than 50,000 had gone down. There's that number again. There's that number even more. Okay. You see that? You see how to do that? That's really the key there. Which had existed for 2 years when every hamlet, town. Okay, well, why? Why are you? It would relieve the tension. Okay. It was the greatest victory of all history thus far, and she knew what it meant to Supreme Commander Gordon, how this victory would be hailed with rejoicing all over the U.S. It would relieve the tension which had existed for 2 years. Okay, all right. When you see 2 years and stuff, well, it's just 2 years since the start of the war. Okay. Here's that number again, which is very important in this. You know what? In fact, you might want to take all the numbers here that you have and add them up. Okay. Cabinet, Great Lee, Supreme Master Grant, Colonel. You're a thoroughbred. I knew you could do it. Yeah, so... Okay, on the afternoon of July 4th, the United States issued a proclamation to the people telling them of wonderful victory in Washington, assuring them the country was safe, and set aside the following 3 days as holidays to celebrate and commemorate the victory of independence. Okay, so, and set aside the following 3 days. Now, let me explain what he's doing to you here. He's using the July 4th because America was founded July 4th, 1776, and so that's an important thing. Okay, so he's using the July 4th date, but his real date, his real cycle hit target date isn't July 4th. It's July 7th. How do we know that? Well, you take July 4th and you add 3 days, and that's what he's telling you there. That's because when you go from July 4th to the actual low July 9th, which I was just there working with it. It's either July 8th or 9th. But anyway, I was just working with it a couple hours ago. But July 4th to July 9th, that's 4 or 5 days there. That's not good. But when you get it down to just a couple of days like normal, you add this 3 days, the following 3 days as holidays to celebrate. The actual ending was July 7th, okay? And you allow a couple days for orb there, and you get your bottom. Not too bad. There's that 50,000 number again, 50, 50, 50. You're taking 100,000. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that double 50,000? Okay. Hundreds of thousands have been taken prisoners. Whoa. Edna Kenilworth, a lone woman. Now, remember what I told you in the last video on tunnel about the word lone? That's important. That is very important. Sleeping gas bagged over. Oh, no, sleeping gas didn't bag 100,000. Hundreds of thousands went down. The sleeping gas just bagged 50,000. Well, wait a minute. Haven't we seen that number somewhere before? You see that? He keeps throwing that in your face to make sure that you get it. Okay, so here, right away, you look at that chart. You look at that July 9th low, or July 8th, it's one of those 2 days, low in 1932, and you think 50,000. Okay, what could he mean? Well, that's for you to figure out, but that's how you do that, okay? All right, again and again and again. He wants to make sure that you don't miss that 50. All right, so wings. Wait a minute, wings. We're talking about wings. Glory of God of Israel was over him. Everyone had 4 faces apiece, and everyone 4 wings, in the likeness of the hands of a man. Okay. So, okay, the Supreme Commander felt that this was the end. In fact, he knew it. Because after reading over Ezekiel, again, he saw the prophecies were all fulfilled. In a short time, the millennium could dawn and the world would be at peace. Okay. He felt that this was the end. In fact, he knew it. Well, you know what it was? It was the low of the Great Depression. And the book was written 5 years in advance. 5 years in advance, okay? And that's very important. Okay, let's get the war parties over. I'll do one little more section here for you. That's going to be RG7. I'll avoid that for now. Don't want to bore you. Let's start here. 402. The Allied generals and officers, knowing what could happen to losses at New York and Washington, obeyed the instructions of the Supreme Commander, moved to a place to stay. After waiting 3 days and finding that their armies were still asleep, they gathered near their various headquarters in New Orleans, St. Louis, Chicago, and prayed for deliverance. They realized the greatest power of the universe was now in the hands of the United States. Most of them credited this power to an act of God. Late on the 7th day, the Allied armies of the enemy began to woke. Each day following for the next 6 days, and that's a code right there. That's a code right there. The people in one city after another of the foreign countries where he had visited awoke. Supreme Commander Gordon released an electric light control, and the cities were no longer in darkness. Okay, and this is important. There's a specific reason why the cities are in darkness. And you would think, okay, well, logically, if you're getting hit, you would want to be in darkness so the enemy couldn't see your positions or whatever. That's not the case. There's another reason why they were in darkness. Okay. All wireless and radio stations refused to take any messages except what concerned news in regard to Marie the Angel of Mercy, and what happened all over the world. On the second day after Supreme Commander Gordon's arrival, the War Council, Mission of Mercy, all parts of the world, not one life had been reported lost. War Council published news over the United States to let people know what had happened during the last 7 days. Thousands of messages. Okay, on August 4th, all the cities in the world where Supreme Commander had destroyed buildings were heard from. And this is an important date, although you wouldn't think it would be. It's important. Everything was normal and that no lives were lost. Messages were pouring in from every part of the world to the Allied. Okay, when the country was in dire peril, calls hopeless and lost. The president replied. This is just the president's reply. Talking, Colonel Manson rose and said to second the motion. Each cabinet officer, around the world in 7 days and destroying so many buildings. He told them that the new machine made a tunnel through the air and that it would overcome resistance from gravitation, and the machine was invisible. What that means is, let me go back up here for a minute. He told them that the new machine made a tunnel through the air, and that it overcame resistance from gravitation, and the machine was invisible. Okay, he explained how he had been guided in building this machine and all his other inventions by the Bible. Okay, when you see the word invisible, what that means is without a planet or without an aviator in one part of the book. Okay, Supreme Commander Gordon decided to call a conference of all nations to take place on New York, August 30, 1932. They were notified representatives to be sent, all this jazz, for an important date there. Okay. All right, my friends, that concludes this portion of more tunnel study with BA. I hope that this is helping you kind of get in and really understand how to decode this thing. You have to look for connections, and then you have to look at the number of days between those connections. Subscribe so you can get the latest on my free market calls, updates, and teachings. Knowledge is priceless. Hey, this is BA reminding you, you can succeed. Take care. Bye-bye.